The dust rose in pale silver plumes as hooves struck the packed dirt of the practice arena. Mary tightened her grip on the reins, jaw set, heart pounding louder than the crowd she imagined in her head. She leaned forward, just as her father had taught her, guiding the horse through a tight turn. For a moment, everything felt rightened, till the horse stumbled and Mary lost her balance, sliding hard into the dirt. She lay there, staring at the endless blue sky, frustrated tears stinging her eyes. "You all right?" The voice was calm, deep, and unfamiliar. Mary pushed herself up and turned. Standing by the fence was a man she recognized instantly, even if they'd never met. Gabriel Cole, rodeo champion, silver buckle winner. The man whose name traveled through ranches and rodeo grounds like legend. "I'm fine," she said quickly, brushing dust from her jeans. Pride was a stubborn thing. Gabriel studied her with an expression that was neither impressed nor dismissive, just observant. He swung himself over the fence with easy confidence and approached the horse, checking its legs before offering Mary a hand. She hesitated, then took it. "You ride with grit," he said. "But grit won't save you if you rush the turn." Mary bristled. "I didn't ask for advice." "No," he replied evenly, "but you're about to." Before she could respond, her father, Thomas Hale, emerged from the barn, wiping his hands on a rag. "Mary," he called. Then his gaze shifted to Gabriel, sharp with purpose. "Mr. Cole, glad you made it." So, it was true. Mary's stomach tightened. Her father had mentioned bringing in a trainer, someone experienced enough to prepare her for the regional rodeo qualifiers. She just hadn't expected him. Gabriel nodded respectfully. "You said she was determined." "She is," Thomas replied. "Too determined for her own good sometimes." Mary crossed her arms. "I can hear you." Thomas smiled faintly. "Good, then you'll hear this too. Gabriel here has agreed to train you." Mary's eyes widened. "Agreed." Gabriel glanced between them. "On conditions." That got her attention. They sat later on the ranch house porch, the afternoon sun stretching shadows across the yard. Gabriel leaned back in his chair, hat tipped low, while Thomas poured coffee. "My reputation matters," Gabriel began. "I train riders. I don't get involved beyond that. No distractions, no gossip, no romance." Mary nearly choked. "Romance." Gabriel's gaze flicked to her, steady and unreadable. "Rodeos breed rumors. I don't entertain them." Thomas nodded. "My daughter's future matters too. She wants this more than anything." "I do," Mary said firmly. "And I don't need romance getting in the way." A faint curve touched Gabriel's mouth, gone as quickly as it appeared. "Good, then we're clear." They shook hands to Mose first, then Mary. Gabriel's grip was warm, firm, and professional. Still, when their eyes met, something unspoken passed between them. A spark Mary refused to acknowledge. Training began the next morning. Gabriel was relentless. He corrected her posture, her timing, her breathing. He made her repeat drills until her muscles screamed and her patience frayed. Yet beneath the stern instructions was something else: respect. He never raised his voice, never belittled her. He treated her like a rider who mattered. And Mary rose to the challenge. By the end of the week, bruised and exhausted, she realized something dangerous. She trusted him. Late one evening, as the sun dipped behind the hills, Mary finished her last run and slowed her horse near the fence. Gabriel leaned there, arms crossed. "You're improving," he said. "Because you're impossible," she replied. That earned a quiet laugh. For a moment, they stood in silence, the rule hanging invisibly between them. No romance, no distractions, just training. Neither of them noticed how thin the line already was. Morning came early on the Hale Ranch, carried in on a chill breeze and the smell of leather and hay. Mary was already awake when Gabriel arrived at the arena, stretching sore muscles and replaying yesterday's mistakes in her head. She wanted perfection, not for him, not for her father, but for herself. Gabriel noticed immediately. "You're tense," he said, as he adjusted the gate latch. "That'll cost you speed." Mary mounted her horse with practiced ease, Hard not to be, when every second counts. Every second counts, he agreed. But panic steals more time than mistakes. She frowned, but nodded, nudging the horse forward. Today's focus was barrel racing tight turns, controlled speed, absolute trust between rider and horse. Gabriel stood at the center of the arena, calling instructions, his voice steady as a metronome. Look ahead, not down. Trust the lean. Again. Mary ran the pattern over and over, sweat darkening her shirt, dust coating her boots. Each pass shaved off a fraction of time. Each correction made her sharper. Gabriel watched closely, eyes tracking every movement, every hesitation. By midday, Mary's arms trembled as she dismounted. That's enough, Gabriel said. I can do one more. He shook his head. You're training for endurance, not punishment. She opened her mouth to argue, then stopped. He wasn't dismissing her, he was protecting her progress. That realization unsettled her more than any criticism. They sat on the fence rail, drinking water in companionable silence. Mary glanced at him sideways. Up close, Gabriel looked older than she'd expected, not in years, but in weight. His eyes carried stories he never told. You ever miss competing? She asked, before she could stop herself. Gabriel's jaw tightened slightly. Every day. Then why stop? He took a long drink, staring out at the empty arena. Winning teaches you how far you can push yourself. Losing teaches you when to stop. Mary absorbed that quietly. She'd never heard him speak that much before. In the afternoons, they worked on strength and balance. Gabriel demonstrated drills himself, movements precise and economical. Mary followed, determined not to fall behind. Occasionally, their hands brushed when he adjusted her stance or steadied her elbow. Each touch was brief, professional and impossible to ignore. Both pretended not to notice. One evening, a storm rolled in unexpectedly. Thunder cracked as rain pelted the arena, forcing them to rush the horses into the barn. Mary slipped on the wet ground, and before she could fall, Gabriel caught her by the waist. Time slowed. They stood there, inches apart, rain drumming on the roof, breath mingling. Mary became acutely aware of his hands, firm, steady, respectful, yet lingering a heartbeat too long. Gabriel stepped back first. We should keep moving, he said, voice low but controlled. Mary nodded, cheeks warm. Right. They finished in silence, the rule echoing louder than the thunder. That night, Mary lay awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying the moment over and over. She reminded herself why this mattered, why she couldn't afford distraction. The rodeo qualifiers were weeks away. This was her chance to prove she belonged. Still, she wondered if Gabriel lay awake too. The next days grew harder. Gabriel pushed her limits, simulating pressure scenarios, timing her runs, demanding consistency under stress. When she faltered, he corrected her without anger. When she succeeded, his rare nod of approval felt better than applause. You're riding like you mean it now, he said, after a near-perfect run. Mary smiled, despite herself. High praise from a man of few words. He studied her, something thoughtful in his expression. Talent's easy to spot. Commitment is rarer. Their bond deepened in subtle ways. Shared glances, quiet understanding, mutual respect forged in effort and exhaustion. The agreement still stood, clear and unbroken, but the space around it felt tighter, more fragile. One afternoon, Thomas watched from a distance, eyes narrowed not in concern, but in curiosity. He saw the way Mary listened, the way Gabriel guided without dominating. He saw something working, perhaps too well. As the sun dipped low, casting long shadows across the arena, Mary finished her run and pulled up beside Gabriel. Thank you, she said softly, for taking this seriously, for taking me seriously. Gabriel met her gaze, holding it a second longer than necessary. I wouldn't be here if I didn't. The words settled between them, heavy with meaning. The line was still there, but the dust around it was starting to blur. The first local rodeo of the season arrived sooner than Mary expected. Though it wasn't the qualifier, Gabriel insisted she compete. You need to feel the noise, he told her as they drove into town before sunrise. Pressure changes everything. Mary stared out the window at the dark horizon. What if I mess up? Then you learn, he said simply. And you ride again. The rodeo grounds buzzed with life trailers lining the dirt lot, riders warming up, announcers testing microphones. Mary's nerves tightened with every sound. She adjusted her gloves, trying to steady her breathing the way Gabriel had taught her. He stayed close, offering quiet instructions, never hovering. When someone approached to ask for an autograph or a photo, he deflected politely and returned his attention to Mary. That, more than anything, grounded her. You ready? He asked. As I'll ever be. She mounted and entered the arena. The crowd blurred as she focused on the barrels ahead. At the signal, she launched forward, trusting muscle memory over fear. The turns were sharp, controlled. She felt fast free until the final barrel. She clipped it. The barrel wobbled, but stayed upright. Mary finished strong, heart pounding as she slowed to a stop. The time wasn't winning, but it was clean. Gabriel met her at the gate, a rare smile breaking through. You recovered, he said. That matters. Relief washed over her. I heard you in my head the whole time. Good, he replied. That's where I belong. The words hung there, more intimate than either intended. That evening, they sat on the tailgate of the truck, sharing sandwiches as the sun dipped low. Laughter drifted from nearby camps, music carrying on the breeze. For a moment, it felt easy. Mary glanced at him. You ever think about what comes after? After what? After training. After rodeos. Gabriel was quiet for a long moment. I don't plan far ahead anymore. She nodded, sensing old wounds. I plan everything. He looked at her then. Really looked. That's why you'll make it. On the drive home, rain streaked the windshield, mirroring the restless thoughts in Mary's mind. The rule echoed again, no romance. She understood why it existed. She just wasn't sure how long it could hold. The next week brought setbacks. Mary missed a turn, lost rhythm, grew frustrated. Gabriel noticed immediately. You're forcing it, he said, after a rough run. I just need to push harder. No, he replied firmly. You need to trust yourself. She snapped back, words sharp with exhaustion. Easy for you to say. You already proved yourself. The silence that followed was heavy. I didn't come here to relive my glory days, Gabriel said quietly. I came because I believe in you. Don't shut me out. Mary swallowed, guilt replacing anger. I'm sorry. He nodded once. Tomorrow's a rest day. She wanted to argue, but she didn't. Instead, she watched him walk away, realizing how much his belief meant to her. That night, a storm knocked out power across the ranch. Mary lit lanterns and stepped onto the porch, finding Gabriel already there, leaning against a post, listening to the rain. Guess we're both restless, she said. Seems so. They stood side by side, close but not touching. The air felt charged, the quiet, intimate. You trust me? Gabriel asked suddenly. With my riding, she answered. Then, softly, with more than that. He exhaled slowly. Then trust me to keep you focused, even when it's hard. Mary nodded, though her heart ached with the effort. The qualifier loomed closer. Every ride mattered. Every look lingered. Every unspoken feeling pressed harder against the boundaries they'd drawn. They had made an agreement, but pressure had a way of testing promises, revealing what truly mattered when the stakes were highest. The week before the qualifiers felt heavier than all the others combined. The air itself seemed tense, like the land was holding its breath. Mary rode harder than ever, determination etched into every movement. Gabriel watched closely, aware that pushing too far now could break what they'd spent weeks building. You're riding like you're afraid of losing, he said, after one run. Mary slowed her horse, frustration flashing in her eyes. Because I am. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. Fear sharpens you, or it steals your balance. You have to choose. She looked away, jaw clenched. I don't want to fail. Gabriel softened. Failing isn't missing a barrel. Failing is riding scared. The words sank in, deeper than any critique before. Mary nodded and asked to run it again. This time, she rode lighter, faster, trusting the horse and herself. When she finished, Gabriel tipped his hat slightly. "That's it," he said. "That's the ride." Later that afternoon, Thomas approached Gabriel near the barn. "She's ready," he said quietly. Gabriel nodded. "She is." "And you?" Thomas asked, gaze steady. Gabriel met it, without flinching. "I've kept my word." Thomas studied him for a long moment, then sighed. "I see the way she looks at you." Gabriel's shoulders tensed. "Nothing's happened." "I didn't say it had," Thomas replied. "Just don't be the reason she loses focus now." Gabriel swallowed. "I won't." That promise weighed on him the rest of the day. That evening, Mary found Gabriel repairing tack in the barn, lantern light casting long shadows across the wooden walls. She hesitated in the doorway. "Can I talk to you?" she asked. He set the leather down. "Of course." Mary stepped closer, hands clasped tightly. "I'm grateful for everything you've done, for believing in me when I didn't." "You did the work," he replied. "I just pointed the way." "That's not true," she said softly. "You changed how I see myself." Gabriel felt the shift, then the unmistakable pull of truth they'd both been avoiding. He took a step back, creating space. "Mary," he said carefully, "this isn't the time." Her eyes glistened, but she nodded. "I know. I just needed you to know." They stood in silence, the unspoken pressing in from all sides. The night before the qualifier, Mary barely slept. She replayed every drill, every correction, every moment of doubt. Just before dawn, she heard footsteps outside her window. She stepped onto the porch to find Gabriel already saddling the truck. "Couldn't sleep either?" she asked. He shook his head. "Big days tend to do that." They drove in quiet companionship, the road stretching ahead like the future neither dared to define. At the arena, tension buzzed through the air. Riders warmed up, nerves visible in every tightened grip. Gabriel stayed close, offering calm words and familiar routines. "Breathe," he reminded her. "Ride your ride." When her name was called, Mary mounted, heart racing. She glanced back once, just once. Sand found Gabriel, watching her, unwavering. She rode like she'd never ridden before. Smooth, fast, fearless. When she crossed the line, the time flashed bright and clean. Cheers erupted. Mary slowed, disbelief giving way to joy. She'd qualified. Gabriel met her at the gate, pride shining openly now. "You earned it," he said. Without thinking, Mary threw her arms around him. For a split second, he froze, then carefully returned. The embrace, brief but real. When they pulled apart, the rule hovered between them, fragile and cracked. They didn't speak of it on the drive home. They didn't need to. Something had shifted beneath their feet. The ground was no longer steady, and neither of them knew what would happen when it finally gave way. The ranch was quiet the morning after the qualifier, as if the land itself were recovering from celebration. Mary stood in the arena alone, reins loose in her hands, watching the sunrise paint the dust in soft gold. She felt lighter, prouder, but also uncertain. The goal she'd chased for so long had been reached. Now what? Footsteps approached behind her. She didn't need to turn to know it was Gabriel. "You're up early," he said. "Couldn't sleep," she replied with a small smile. "Feels strange when the thing you've worked toward finally happens." He leaned against the fence, hat in hand. "That's the moment most people don't plan for." Mary guided her horse to the rail and dismounted. For a moment, neither spoke. The agreement, the rules that had shaped their days hung unspoken between them. "I talked to my father," Mary said quietly. Gabriel's posture stiffened. "And he knows," she continued. "Not everything, but enough." Gabriel nodded slowly. "I told him I'd keep my word." "You did," Mary said, stepping closer. "You never crossed a line." He met her eyes. "I wanted to." The honesty in his voice stole her breath. "So did I," she admitted. Silence settled. Not heavy this time, but clear. "My job here is done," Gabriel said at last. You don't need me training you anymore. Mary felt the truth of it on the loss. That agreement, she said softly, was about protecting what mattered. It was, he agreed, your future. My integrity. She reached out, stopping just short of touching his hand. What if it did its job? Gabriel searched her face, weighing the years of discipline that had defined him against the woman standing before him. Strong, proven, and no longer just a student. You earned the right to choose what comes next, he said. So did he. Exhaled, a slow release of restraint. Then, carefully, deliberately, he closed the distance between them. This time, when he took her hand, there was no urgency, only certainty. Their kiss was unhurried, born of respect rather than impulse. It tasted of patience, of promises kept, of a future finally allowed to begin. Later that day, Thomas found them fixing a fence together, working side by side. He said nothing at first, only observed the easy rhythm between them. She qualified, he said eventually. Yes, sir, Gabriel replied. And she keep qualifying, Thomas added, glancing at Mary. Because she earned it. He looked at Gabriel. Then, you kept your word. That matters. Gabriel nodded. Always has. Thomas extended his hand, not in agreement this time, but in approval. Gabriel took it, feeling a weight lift he hadn't realized he'd been carrying. As summer stretched on, Mary traveled to competitions, no longer needing instruction, only support. Gabriel was there when she wanted him to be, never overshadowing her success, always standing just behind the gate. The Silver Spurs Agreement became something they laughed about, Latoura line drawn in dust, blurred by hard work and mutual respect. It hadn't kept love out, it had made room for it. And on quiet evenings, when the arena lay still and the stars came out one by one, Mary and Gabriel would sit together on the fence rail, knowing the strongest bonds weren't forged in rules, but in honoring them first. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more Western stories.